Welcome to Western Technical College Business and Industry Services. This video, along with other training opportunities from Western BIS, are designed to help employees stay informed on the latest trends in today's changing workplace. To learn how Western can support your business, visit us at westerntc.edu/BIS.
Thank you for participating in this self-care webinar. Like I said, that's put on by Business and Industry Services and Western Technical College. As Angie said, I work in the counseling office. I worked at the regionals at Viroqua, Mauston, and Tomah for a number of years as a counselor, and now I work with the counselors up in La Crosse. So today we want to talk about balancing work and kids. And I like this picture because I think it probably sums it up for a lot of us, trying to do a lot of multitasking, juggling things, trying to focus when you really can't focus. So I hope today is just really kind of a safe space that I want you to know you're not going to get well, you should do it this way and you got to do it this way. It's like, you know what, we're all in this together. We're navigating the best we can. There's really no right or wrong because you know your kids best. I firmly believe that my kids are not your kids and vice versa. And we get lots of second tries, and it's probably a good time to just cut yourself some slack and kind of partner with other people who are in this together. So I do like to use the chat if you're able to just give me a sense, and I'll keep moving forward, but give me a sense of, are you on this webinar? Do you have kids? Do you have grandkids? Or kind of where are you at in the kids area, so that I can get a sense of my audience too, and I can maybe speak to some of those specific issues. So if you want to put down, again, the ages of your kids, that's helpful. All right, so we're seeing some teenagers, school kids, some little ones, really little ones. We have the whole spectrum. Okay, boys, girls. Gotcha. Good. So I think it's good I like to do this because part of it just, I think it's great to know for you as well as people attending that you're not alone in this, that there's actually maybe people that you maybe don't even know that you work with or you work alongside that have kids the same age or maybe have gone before you. And one of the things I'll talk about too is like I found it helpful to partner with other parents who have gone before me. So I tend to connect with other moms and dads who are maybe like 10 years, like their kids are like 10 years older than mine. So that I can say, have you gone through this before? And that really helps as well. So I have an 11-year-old who is always bored. Oh, I hear you. Yes, that might not change ever. Okay, good. So let's get started with, I like this. Most of you, if you're on the internet, you've probably seen this, but this just makes me laugh every time I see it. So this is basically this young girl who has like a mock cocktail in her hand, or maybe not, I hope it is, but it says that teacher in there doesn't know blank about math. She makes me want to drink. And the little boy is saying, stop it, Carol, mom is trying. And I showed this when I was doing this presentation during school, and for all of you, I'm assuming school is out, but I think it just kind of speaks to like, oh my gosh, for the kids too, like we turned into like instantly like Betty Crocker's and the second grade teacher, or maybe full-time daycare. And the reality is most of us, not always, but for example, I was working part-time when my kids were littler, but I never really wanted to be a stay-at-home full-time mom. Some people want that. So I found myself that I was like, this is just not exactly what I had anticipated. So I want to start with just because it might sound like, oh yeah, that's funny, but actually there's lots of research behind the importance of play, the importance of laughter, and kind of like medicinally what it can do for your body. So I want to talk about that a little bit, is just to be thoughtful about the fact that laughter relaxes your whole body. Just even seeing that, like I can just feel like the tension and stress, it just, again, kind of instantly when I laugh, it kind of flees your body. It also boosts your immune system. So I think for all of us, there's probably a heightened awareness and need to be our best self in terms of our immunity. It increases immune cells and infection fighting antibodies. it triggers the release of endorphins, and that's the body's natural feel-good chemical. It burns calories. I mean, a lot of people are talking about the COVID-15. So if nothing else, maybe you're burning calories while you're laughing. So, and it also can lighten anger's heavy load, because the reality is I think it's safe to say that all of you love your kids and your grandkids very much. But the reality is I often wonder, I'm like, I'm not sure I was put on this earth to be with these children 24/7, or even my partner sometimes, because it's just, I think that we're used to having more space between us. And so sometimes it can be a bit much. I think that's a normal feeling. So sometimes laughter, when you can just kind of laugh about it and walk away, it puts problems into perspective. So today's kind of going to be hopefully like a lesson on acceptance of, you know, you're doing the best that you can. And there's not one person that nails it every single day with your children. And maybe we have a great hour. Maybe one activity went really well. But the reality is our kids are going to be there tomorrow, and you're going to get a lot of second chances. So we can cut ourselves some slack in this journey with our children. So the 5 things that I want to talk about today are some of the things that I've read a lot about balancing. How are people doing it effectively? My sense is, because we're quite a ways into this, many of you have already done this, but if not, here are just some things to think about in terms of how you can find that balance and make it a little bit easier at home. So we're going to go through this: the workspace, your expectations, you're flexible, connecting with others, and self-care. And if anybody has questions or comments, feel free to oh, Angie, I'm just reading yours. And a 15-year-old who sings nonstop, well, she can come to my house. Although that could probably get a little annoying after a while, I don't know. So I want to start with creating your workspace. Every article that you read about balance and children, it's probably going to start with your workspace. And are you able, and granted, again, like not everybody's able to do this, but are you able to get into a space, like a specific room where you're not in the middle of kind of what's going on, that you can get away? Because it's really important for children too to understand, like, this is working dad and this is non-working dad. Several people have talked about, like, there's either verbal cues, and for me, it's probably the mom eyes or the mom look that my kids would know, like, okay, she can't talk right now. One of the things it's good is when you have a workspace, wherever it is, again, it's good if it can be away in a designated spot. That's important partly because I for myself, and I'm hearing other people saying, you know, I'm never off. I feel like I could work 24/7 because my computer is right here. I can always check it. I hear it dinging and going off and whatever. So it's, if possible, that's very important. It's also, it'll help your kids discern, okay, are you being a dad right now, or are you working at Western or at the credit union right now? Because kids don't always pick up on that, especially if you're not intentional about telling them about how your day is going to look. And I think that's another kind of best practice, is depending on the age of your child, but even little ones can kind of say, you know what, yesterday I had a lot of time that you could interrupt me and I could answer your questions. But today, in the morning, like I can't be interrupted. So it's a really important meeting. So I think just telling your kids too what to expect for your day is kind of laying it out like your agenda and how that's going to roll out. So some people have created signs. I know I've seen some people have like a red, like you don't have to see it on Zoom, but they pull up the red sign, or they put a red sign on their door, like, no, mom can't be disturbed right now. Or some people have like a tag that they put on their doorknob to say, you know, kind of do not disturb. I'm curious, for the people on the webinar, have you found something? It's good to share with other people. Like, do you have like symbols or nonverbal cues that are appropriate for webinars that you can share with the group that you're finding that allows your kids to know, like, no, I can't be interrupted right now, or yep, this is the time that we can work together. What are people doing at home to give your kids that message? Oh, I put my Zoom schedule on the fridge every day. I raise my hand off screen when they know I'm in a meeting and can't be interrupted. They know to enter with caution during the workday. Yep. I just let them know I have a call or meeting and close the door. Good. This is, what you're bringing up is, again, you're intentional about. I usually update my son each morning in meetings. I have a 2-year-old and haven't found a way to be disturbed. Yes, Krista, we're going to talk about that. Sign in the door in a meeting. What I love about this is, again, this is you're doing what they would say, whoever they is, the experts, I guess, is this is the best practice, is to just be intentional about telling kids what to expect. And like, here's how it's going to play out. I redid a portion and hide out downstairs. Okay, good. Sign on the door. Have a hard time not fighting or being naughty if they're not watching them all the time. Yes, yes. So they know, but our boundaries are very skewed. I've been being by stuff. Oh gosh, animal. Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. There's I love it that there's a lot of chats, and I know that you're reading them. I just think it's good. You're being intentional about them, and you're telling them kind of the unwritten rules, right? It's like, okay, when it's my team, when you see these people and you can tell them a little less formal, that's okay to interrupt me. But there are times that it's like, don't interrupt me, because, I mean, again, if something really bad is happening, they of course can interrupt. But you're giving them kind of the norms of this is how working from home works. Okay, so I love it. You're right on the right track. Okay. And so the next thing we can talk about is dialing down our expectations. And this is what a couple of you spoke about in the chat. I'm not in that phase anymore. I should have said, I have an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old boy. So they're old. They're out of the house. They go to work every day. So I don't have this. But I just know when they were little and I was at home more, I had to kind of set my attitude every day because I'm a doer. I like to get things done. And I just had to kind of set the mindset, and I was not perfect at it. And there were days that didn't go as well as I wanted, but I had to be honest with myself about this is the day, not the day that I wished it was going to be. It helped when I was realistic about how the day was going to be. So I think also is, one of the things that I do have a member or two on my team that have little kids. And so I have really intentionally said to those people, be upfront with me about when is a good time to have a Zoom meeting. So I think it's also speaking up with your bosses, with your coworkers, and saying, you know, my partner can really help during this time, and also is like, maybe need a day off. So it's important to let those around you know, like, here's my world, because again, I have 18 and 22-year-old. When I'm here, this webinar right now, I've got a big white lab laying here, and I've got a little puggle laying over there. That's who's at my house. So I don't have a lot of distraction. But it's important to let your coworkers know, like, you know what, I have a 3-month-old and a 2-year-old. Maybe 10 o'clock at night is a good time. So I mean, it's okay to share your truth with your partner, with your coworkers as well. This relates more to school time. I did this presentation, but I really think it is telling and kind of speaks to where many of you were at during the school year. And this psychiatrist, she said, you know, her mantra, and just to remind herself to dial down those expectations every day, she said over and over, I am not homeschooling. I am doing my best to help my kids learn at home during a crisis. I'm not working from home. I am doing my best to work at home during a crisis. I cannot be as productive as normal because these are not normal times. I will focus on what I can accomplish in just the next 24 hours and let go of what I cannot accomplish right now. And I really like those. People from the other sessions have said, can you email those to me? Because I think too, just having those, starting your day off saying, okay, I have to be realistic. I'm not sitting in my office with adults doing what I used to do. This is a very different normal. So I can't expect to be as productive. And I need to be upfront with my boss about that. I need to be upfront with my coworkers, and I need to be upfront with myself and be okay with that and be realistic. Again, as I said in the description, you didn't sign up probably to be a kindergarten teacher or Betty Crocker or a full-time early childhood teacher. So I think partly is for me is when I expect interruptions, I'm better with that. Because when I find if I kind of get rigid about like, I don't want that to happen, and that it's very irritating to me. So it's, again, kind of being realistic. Also, I am a counselor, and I think it's so important because your kids, to me, are exactly where they need to be right now with you. And you're enough because you are their parents, and you're going to be probably the safest people in their life. And I think it's important for us as the adults in their life to be the people that are emotionally present, so we can pick up on the cues that our kids are giving us, because sometimes they don't say the words. Well, they say words, but they maybe aren't saying the words that really they're thinking. So I think it's also one thing that I read is, my child is not giving me a hard time. They're having a hard time. Because remember, all behavior is communication, and your child is telling you typically that they need support when they have those behaviors, or they just need attention. Because remember, they're little people going through the same thing that we are. So expectations, right? The next slide is developing a new flexible routine. And again, my sense is you got into this when you were in the middle of school, because you were because you had teachers giving you assignments, and some of those went really well, and some of you said, I can't do this, and that's okay too. And everybody got through it. Now you're probably into kind of a new flexible routine again, because now we're into summer, and what does that look like? Again, this is the world according to Anne. It could be wrong. I feel like this isn't really the time to clamp down really hard and try to control your child 8 hours a day. Like, they're not in school, they're at your house. That doesn't mean to not have some routine. And one of the best practices too is to collaborate with your child, depending on their age, obviously. But sitting down with your family and figuring out a schedule that works kind of for everybody, to say, you know what are the hard times that you wish that I was kind of with you? Do you want me to make breakfast for you? And then it's like, but if I do that and we have breakfast, can then I work from 10 to 12 and you can agree to do this? So giving kids and yourself voice and choice is really important. And it's okay. If that schedule does not go as planned every day, it won't, first of all. But it's like cutting yourself some slack to say, you're not going to nail it. But every day is an opportunity to kind of fine tune, like that really went well. Or like that did not go well, we are not doing that again. Your job isn't, again, to create a school day. I really feel like our jobs as parents are to keep our kids safe and to do their best while their worlds have been turned upside down as well. The other thing is, kids thrive on routine and structure. Even if they think that they don't, they do. Knowing what's going to come next is very important to them. So, and anticipate too, with that structure, that you're going to just have days that don't go well. But we encourage, if you don't have a lot of structure, start with waking times and bedtimes. It doesn't have to be, again, like 8 hours that we know every single thing that you do. Just start with little things and then build from there. Again, it's a really good idea to have your kids be part of this. Many families have developed kind of like, here's our daily schedule that they create with you. The other thing is, I think, consider getting outside, especially now that it's finally summer in Wisconsin. It seems like it takes forever. Go outside with them. When you have a break, get outside, see something different. Connecting with others. This is something that I feel is really important to do, is to get together with people who are maybe sharing the same experience with you. For me, like I said, I have friends that definitely have kids that are my same ages, and we do things together. But I've also had a couple friends that are, their kids are a little bit older than mine, to say, have you ever experienced this and that type of thing? So find supportive people that are in the same situation as you. Zoom with them, chat with them, call them. I encourage people at this time to seek out people who are calm and collected, that ground you and provide perspective and support. encouraging you to kind of do a mental run through in your mind, or like, who are those people? Because this is maybe a time to set aside people that perhaps get you really revved up, or just get you feeling more anxious, or feeling more like, oh, I didn't do that right. I talk about like the judgy Judys, and by that I mean, this is like, for example, I see this a lot on social media, that it seems like there's always a mom or two or dad or two that like post these amazing pictures where their kids are doing their homework, and then they're like, oh, I can't believe this is working so well. And it seems like everything they post or everything they talk about is just perfect. I would encourage you to rethink maybe that relationship and say, maybe I don't need somebody that I feel not my best with. I encourage you to find people that are your cheerleaders, that are your supports, that you can be honest with how it's going, the people that you can say, you know what, can we chat tonight, because I just have had such a day, and my kids today, oh, they were driving me nuts. I just think it's important to have those people that you can say your truth to, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I think something to think about is, again, do that mental list. Are there people that you need to just set aside? It doesn't mean you're being mean to them, but you're setting that intentional boundary kind of about like, this isn't, I need to have my cheerleaders. Do you have your cheerleaders? Who are they? And think about who those people are. The next thing is easy to say, sometimes hard to do, is practice self-care and just relax. Again, as I said kind of earlier, I don't know that anybody was put on this earth to be together 24/7. And when you're managing children and work, it can just take a toll on everybody's patience and your energy level, because you can never really shut it off. Try to create some space to read, to work maybe on a craft project by yourself, or exercise. If you have multiple people in your house, perhaps you can delineate time between, like, you take the kids now, maybe now that it's summer, you may have a neighbor person that could help out, just watch the children for an hour or two, depending on your social distancing and things like that. But finding just some times, and maybe it's at the end of the night when the kids finally go to bed, but it's so important that you take time for yourself, because again, you can't have an empty bucket if you're going to be supporting everybody else. And that tends to be what we do with parents, but that does run out. And then we kind of get what we call dysregulated. We get anxious, we get irritable, or we just kind of get numb to the world and get low. So I encourage you to, again, be aware of, where are you in self-care? Do you feel like you need to work on it a little bit and say, you know what, my kids are absolutely, they're the most important thing in my life. But if I'm not healthy and happy, then that does impact them. So just, again, that's something to think about. Where are you at with that? Do you feel like, no, I really do need to be intentional with my partner to say, I need some time. I need, on Wednesday nights for half an hour, I need to be able to do this and make that happen. So again, we just talked about, I think, some kind of basic things of how do you find the balance with your kids. And the last thing I want to have you just kind of think about is, when this is, I don't want to say over and done, because I probably said that at the beginning, but I don't think COVID is ever going to be over and done, so to speak. It's definitely 2020 is going to be etched in all of our minds. But I tend to, my kids are older now, and just even preparing for this presentation, I was looking through all the little books that I used to read, and man, at the time, I felt like I had read every Arthur book there was, and every Clifford book there was, and Bernstein Bears, all of that. And yet, I don't read those books anymore. And my youngest is graduating from high school this year. And I think your kids do remember. And when you talk about this, at the table, when they're 20 years from now, how do you want your kids to remember the time? Because we do have control over that. Do you want them to remember, it's like, oh my gosh, it was really stressful, and my parents were really yelling a lot. I felt like everybody was really upset. Do you want them to remember, we played a lot. I remember my dad taking me out, and during his lunchtime, we went on walks, and I never had that time with my dad. what is it that you want to recreate or create with your children so that when they reflect, what does that look like? If they don't think it's important right now that you're the best homeschool teacher or academically, or you have the greatest schedule and all those things, I think it's about creating safety for your children, being aware of how they're feeling, creating a sense of belonging and acceptance about we're in this together with your family too, not just with your coworkers, but we're in this together. And this is how functioning people get through this. This is how we cope, because your kids are learning how do you cope. And they're learning whether they say that to you or not. They're learning because they're watching everything that you do. So I think the most important skill is to teach them how to manage these big feelings that are really different under stress, and the importance of being together. I want to leave you with just a couple. Again, this is Anne's world, so these may or may not resonate with you. I really have, I've been reading from The Greater Good out of Berkeley for a long time, but they've had a lot of good articles about COVID and kids. So it's something, it's a website you can check out. It's called Greater Good, and it's out of Berkeley. It's called Science-Based Insights for a Meaningful Life, but just a lot of kind of thought-provoking information on that. If you haven't been to Travel Wisconsin, now I get it. This is different than last year because there's not all the festivals and all the things that you can do with lots of people. But Travel Wisconsin, if you go into like hiking trails, there are just tons. We are so lucky to live in the state of Wisconsin and Minnesota as well, because there's so much nature that we can take advantage of. And I will say, we had a theme in our family. The family that hikes together stays together, because, oh boy, we went on some adventures and they weren't 12 miles. They maybe were 1 mile when they were little, but it was a way for us to do something together. We usually had a picnic or whatever, but and they still complain now that they're 22 and 18, they'll still say, remember when you made us do that? But you know what? These are good memories because we were together and we did it together. So I find getting out together on like hiking trails is a really good way to connect. And it doesn't cost anything, and you're typically not around a ton of people. The last thing is I'm a little hesitant to even bring this book, but I found it so valuable, especially if you have teenagers. The book was written in 1999. I did see it on Amazon. I'm not sure if it's readily available, but it's a book basically talking about how to connect, walking in somebody else's shoes. So I have, again, my 18-year-old, these are times where they're missing out on their friends, they're missing out on a lot of things that they were hoping for. And it's kind of a book about basic respect from a parent's point of view. It's like, well, here's what I need you to do. But then you flip the book over and it's from the child's point of view or the teenager's point of view. So it's a really kind of cool book to say, well, I get how it feels for you, mom and dad, but this is how it feels for me. So it's something to check out too if you're thinking, how could I maybe have a better communication with my teens. So with that, my presentation is over, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I hope you're all well, and I hope I'm certain that you're doing the best that you can with your kids. And again, remember, they're with you, and you are exactly the people that they should be with right now.
And I'll just chime in and say thank you very much. I know from my perspective to having kids at home, these are all great reminders. And I think we've been maybe in this long enough that we were due for that check-in to tell ourselves that we're doing okay and it's all going to be good. So I really appreciate your time and your expertise today. I thank everyone for joining us.
Thank you for viewing this video from Western Technical College Business and Industry Services. Learn more about the hundreds of training and development opportunities available for your employees at westerntc.edu/BIS.